How do you feel about the commercial roof inspections? Well, we're going to talk about this along with a lot of other things during this show. Hi, this is Daniel Lakstins, and you're listening to the Roofing Business Builder Podcast. Now, I'm a 32-year vet in the roofing industry, and I'm your personal commercial roofing guru. Now, today I have a special guest, and his name is Henry Staggs. He's the founder of the Roofing School, and he also has been in the roofing industry since he was 12. We got a lot to learn from him. Before we get started with that, let's do our intention for this episode. The intention for this episode is that things always come back around for me. Yes, things will always come back around for me. You know, everyone talks about law of attraction, which is great because that really helps us keep ourselves in a positive mindset. But when you look at the 7 laws, universal laws, the 5th one is rhythm. And rhythm is really important because it helps us to see the cycles of everything. We see that the oceans go in and out. Everything is very cyclical. So we have all the seasons are always cyclical. Everything is changing. You grow up from a child, you grow into a man or a woman, and then you become an adult. And then later on we get old. So everything is always changing. But when things start to change in a negative direction, it's great when things are going in a positive direction, but when things go into a negative direction, sometimes we'll put resistance. We're like, oh no, I don't want this to happen. And then it seems like everything can just spiral down. So with the law of rhythm, we understand that everything's cyclical, so a pendulum swings back and forth. And in this case, the pendulum is going to swing sometimes in a situation where, as roofers, something bad can happen. But the secret to it is to acknowledge that that this is all about rhythm. It's going to swing back for you. And then if you can think about that, then you can stay positive. And positivity is everything. If something bad happens on a job or a customer gets upset, you can feel this negative energy. Or just think, you know what, we can correct this and it'll swing back. Things will get better. And that way you can hold your composure in such a way where you have confidence and your customer is going to say, yeah, they did a good job. As a matter of fact, we could even recommend them because of the way they handled the situation. All right, so the subject that we're going to be talking about in this episode is inspections. How should we view inspections? Now, Henry and I talk a lot about different things, but one of the main subjects that he covers is talking about inspections, and I thought it was really good and that you'd really enjoy this episode. So let's look into my interview with Henry Staggs.
Okay.
Ooh, perfect. Yeah.
Look at that.
You filled the screen.
Man.
So again, my guest is Henry Staggs. Henry, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Fine grabbing it. I had a guy used to work for, his name was Dollar. And Dollar could pick up a bundle of shingles by the end and throw it on the roof like it was paper. Just truck them all day long without getting tired. That guy was like a tank. But he was afraid of heights. So
we would do that. We'd pull a pickup truck up to the garage, the person's garage, and just unload them all by hand from the back of the pickup truck. Yeah.
Right. Ladder rack.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember doing that. Throw them up on the ladder and then throw them up on the roof.
Oh yeah, we'd always have to throw one. But I would even take 2 back when it was just 20-year shingles. I'd throw 2 bundles on my shoulder and go up the ladder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then you'd always have these like marks at the end of the day, blood blister marks all over your shoulder.
Yeah, those are badges of honor, right?
I guess. Yeah.
We get together and compare our scars and wounds.
Henry, I've had you on the show before, but it's been a while, and I'd really love to catch up. So if you would, just tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world now.
I sold my consulting firm,
Uh-huh.
and then I started a roof restoration company here in town, and then it slowed the efforts on the School of Roofing somewhat, simply because things just weren't moving along in the way that I wanted them to. And just I'm available and open now to the trade schools that I've been working with, as well as Habitat for Humanity, and doing some training with them. They've got such a great program. I mean, they pay their kids $100 a week. I think it's $100 a week. They come in, they do their training, they get the basic NCCR core, and then they do a little trade specific stuff. But the best thing about that, is compared to like a trade school, is they get to build a house. They actually go out and do the work that they're talking about. Whereas trade schools, they try to, simulate that in their sometimes inside their warehouses or out in the back area or something. They do a pretty good job too, but it's just still not building a house. It's not the same. And I think those kids coming out of that Habitat program, man, they got a real advantage. Not all kids either. There's some grown people in there too. One guy was probably in his 50s, right around in my age group, just doing a career change. So I didn't know where it came from, but I like that they have an opportunity for someone who is struggling for some reason or another. It's, who cares? It's none of our business. That they're there. Our business is to give them a new skill set. They can take their life in a different path. And that's why I sold my consulting firm, because I wanted to go a different path. I quite frankly I don't want to sound wrong, but I just got tired of arguing with roofers all the time about specifications and quality workmanship and what you're supposed to do and not supposed to do and all that. And after one project where I counted the same thing 175 times on this one project, and the roofer just wouldn't change, and had to keep going back and fix it each time, 175 times, I just threw my hands up in the air. And ironically, I got a call from a company in Colorado who was interested in buying out my consulting company. So I took their offer, and then I partnered up with some other folks, and we've been doing, we started in just this past March. So we're right about $500,000 in business now. And we were focused heavy on liquid applied roof restoration on existing roof systems, and servicing that same market that I was servicing before, but a little differently this time, because we're able to give them what it was I was trying to get everybody else to give them in the first place. Which I know it sounds kind of bad, but I don't mean it bad. But we're doing top quality work. We're using materials that don't have fillers and additives and all that other stuff that flakes off, and then the sales guy can rub his hand and say, see, that's your roof. You got to get a new coating, Well, that doesn't happen with our materials, because that zinc oxide, that's what's on his hand. It's not in our materials. So
it doesn't chalk. You're saying that it's not breaking down. So if you're up on a roof and you rub your hand on it and it's really white on your hand, that means it's chalking. So those are millimeters of mills coming off, little micro mills coming off of the product, because it's deteriorating. So what you're saying is that product, up to how long? How many years have you been on one that's like 25 years old?
So our manufacturer has roofs that are about 40 years old that are still in good condition.
40?
So 30, 40 mils, somewhere in there. And they don't lose much millage, because they don't have the additives. That's what causes the millage loss, are those additives that you're losing. And then when you lose those additives, you're also losing some of the bond with the molecules down there, your polymers, at a very microscopic level, of course, so we don't see it. But that's why that material becomes more permeable, because the holes are bigger, and then water can get in there and intrude into interplies, and then cause that wrinkling that you see, which is great for roofers who want to do recoats, because they got every 5 or 6 years you got to recoat your roof. That's kind of the mantra out there, and I sang it too. I thought that was true, and then when I learned more about coatings, and always learning, right? And I found out that the zinc oxide additive, it's just a filler, it's just a sawdust. It's not. We don't need it, but it makes a bucket go last long. It doesn't make the material last longer, but it gives you more in a bucket. So when I found the manufacturer we're working with, they don't use any of that stuff. They don't really sell through distributorship too much. I mean, we have a pretty close relationship with them. And check this out. Whenever we finish a project, right, we do an NDL warranty, right? No dollar limit, backed by the manufacturer, all that stuff. Well, we do that because it's good for the client. In case we go out of business, they're still covered. But more importantly, I do that because the manufacturer comes in and does an inspection on all our roofs. So every one of these projects we've done since March, we've had somebody, I don't even know who, come in from the manufacturer, walk our roof at some point. They don't tell us when, they just show up and do it. And then so far we've passed every one, and they've given us the warranty. Otherwise you couldn't get the warranty. And it's not free to us. We pay for that. I don't add that to the client's bill. That's just part of doing business. So I think of it sort of like when I was consulting and I was trying to sell the idea to contractors. Hey, hire consultants, even if me, yeah, but maybe someone else too, come out and check your projects. Maybe not all of them, but some of them here and there, kind of give you an idea where you're at. Our manufacturer does that for us. So if we find that, we're slacking in some area, they're going to tell us, because they're going to own that roof for the next 20 or 10 years or 15 or 30 years, yeah, up to 30 years. So they won't let us, we're not getting away with anything. And my clients like that, because of that extra layer of accountability, and that we're not trying to do things like, we know everything. We know what we know, and we know we need to know more. And the guy that's coming out to inspect our roof probably knows more than I do about that material, because that's all he does. That's his everyday life, is looking at that material. So he knows a good install when he sees one. We do them all. So we just did one recently. We did a 300 square cementitious roof. I'm sorry, 600 square cementitious roof. I just heard my partner yelling at me in the back of my head. He's very proud of that sale. But that cementitious, if you're familiar with it, a lot of contractors will veer away from that. I don't want to mess with it. You can't coat it, all that kind of stuff. And it's true, you can't coat it with the wrong stuff. You can coat it with the right stuff. And so we use, a 2-part epoxy, create our substrate. That's important. And then put the top coat on. Right. And creating that substrate and prepping the roof, that's where it all matters. Matter of fact, it doesn't matter if it's metal, SPF, whatever type of roof system built up, whatever you're working on, it's the prep and it's the primer and the base. So those are the things that make or break that roof system, not the top coat. The top coat's what pretties it up and encapsulates everything, and then reflects the sunlight, so you can have your additional energy savings. Sometimes owners don't really care too much about that because they don't pay the electric bill. But I promise you that the guy inside who does pay the electric bill, he cares a great deal about that. So
yeah, know your pain points of the customer, and then hammer the ones that they truly care about. But so you do, how many of these things that you've talked about, several different things that are amazing about your product, and I can feel the passion in what you're talking about too, Henry. But what I was wondering is, are you using these same techniques and inside your sales, when you're selling the customer? Is that what's the most persuasive thing that sells your customer?
Well, two things. How we do our seems seems to really catch their attention. So our guys, when we're praying
Thank you, Lord, for this roof.
Yeah. Give me another sale. When we're spraying the seams, our guys will do the seams first, and then they'll come back and do the field. So you got a little double protection at the seams where it matters the most. And then the other thing is the warranty. But I got to tell you, it's about a 50-50 split on that. Some folks just don't care about any warranty at all. Their philosophy is, look, if you're doing a good job, we don't need a warranty. And that's true, perhaps, but we don't know what the future's going to hold. So I think the warranty is a good protector. But what I do is I say, listen, it's not the warranty. It's the fact that in order to get the warranty, we have to have that inspection from the manufacturer. So we're not just signing off on our own roofs. We've got somebody else that I don't know who the guy is. I've never met him. I don't know who comes out, or if maybe it's more than one person. I don't want to know. That keeps me accountable to the manufacturer, which keeps me accountable to my customer. Because I learned over the years, in 9 years or something of being a consultant, that accountability is important. So I suppose the answer to your question is that we hold ourselves accountable in a way that is true and real with the third party. It's not just hey, we do a good job, and take our word for it.
Yeah.
we and I everything, and this, so I earn as many, like all those plaques on the wall. I try to, if I think I know something, I'll take a course and see if I can validate myself if I know what I think I know, and then get that piece of paper so I can verify and validate that when I say I know something, I've learned it and taken the steps to prove to someone else that I've learned it. And it doesn't always work, because sometimes I thought I knew something and then I went to validate it, and the other person's like, no, you got a long ways to go, brother. And I'm like,
What's so cool is that we have these, a cell phone. It's basically an encyclopedia in your hand, where when we were kids, we had to ride our bicycles to the library to know or not know. But yeah, I like that selling point too, because I know a lot of young roofers, or some of the people that listen to this program, which you're listening to the Roofing Business Builder program. Some of the people that listen to this program are just crossing over into commercial. And I know that many ones that just crossed over would say, I am just scared of the inspector, and maybe I should take him out or bribe him, or I've heard people bribe an inspector, and I'm like, you're cutting your own roofing company's throat to do that, because you want that guy to find out if one of your employees made a mistake. You want to find the mistake before you hand off this warranty, because otherwise you're going to be coming back for one, and for two, it's going to sour your reputation to that customer. And it's better for that inspector to find something if something was left. So it's like, I think the your inspector should be one of your not best friends. You know what I'm saying? I like it better when you don't know your inspector, don't have a close relationship, unless they're training your guys. But definitely you want him to be trying to find something. Most people are good people, so they're going to find something if something's there. They'll save you a lot of time and money in the long run, and help your reputation to continue to grow.
So I'll speak as the guy who was the inspector for 9 years. The observer, that's the proper term, the observer.
Observer.
Yes. And you get paid what do you get paid for? Take pictures? Yeah, I do. And like earlier, and previously you were talking about, not saying things bad about your competitors. Well, I was accused of that. And this is why I was accused. As the inspector, I took pictures, I made a report, I delivered it to my client. And it's all just factual based. Here's what I saw, here's what I said, here's what happened. Just as simple as that. So we'd have two kinds of roofing contractors. The guy who says, oh my God, I got to fix this, what do I do? And we can either show them, train them, or show them resources so you can go and learn, or just, sometimes it's just as easy as, 3 sentences we can tell them what needs to do to correct it. And they take care of it, no problem. And they appreciate that extra knowledge, and they feel better for it. And I love to work with those guys. On the converse, we had guys who don't want to hear it, don't want to be corrected, that they know what they're doing, don't need anybody telling them nothing, and said that I made them look bad. And they used to always get under my skin because I didn't do anything except stand there and take pictures of the work that's being done. I had no control, no power, no authority over the project itself. And I found that those guys are hard to work with. But here's what happens. As the consultant, when I'm writing another spec for a client, and we're thinking about contractors we don't want to invite to bid on that project, obviously we're going to be thinking about the contractors who were open to criticisms and wanted to grow and become better roofers and get training, as opposed to the guy who, you made us look bad because you took pictures of that big blister we left in the middle of the roof with the split in the middle. True story. It's a true story. They did that. It was just a huge blister with a big crack down the middle, and it was leaking, and they would not fix it. They had to get someone else to do it. I couldn't believe it. Why put your foot down on something like that? It doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't. Well, I just want to say thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
That was my interview with Henry Staggs, and a lot of information that we got to share. But I hope you noticed the point, though, that when it comes to commercial inspections, they're very valuable. I mean, we can all make a mistake. If you have an employee, they can make a mistake. If you have a sub-crew, they can definitely make a mistake. Any of us can, right? So that inspector is really someone that's going to help protect your company, protect your company's name. So it's a really good point, too. Now it's time for Did You Know? Did you know that some warranties may be transferable? Now, different manufacturers have different writing, but a lot of times you can even talk to the manufacturer and get that warranty written the way you would like. usually you sometimes have to go up to the national sales manager or even the vice president of a company. But if the job is large enough, they'll be very willing to listen, and a lot of times you can have things happen for you that you wouldn't normally be able to get, but you also have to have that right type of customer. But warranties can be transferable with some companies, and it's just very good to look at the print and then ask your rep about that. Having a transferable warranty really comes in handy if you have one of those customers that doesn't plan to own the building for very long. But when you explain this to them, you tell them that when you are talking to the person that's going to buy the building, that it actually has a transferable warranty. And so that might be a big carrot for them in getting the building sold down the road. Well, that's it for the show. Really appreciate you guys. It's been a rough ride for me this year. My mom, passed just several weeks ago, and but I'm making it, and you know what? You're making it too. Remember the earlier part of the program, I talked about the law of rhythm, and I'm experiencing it, and I'm sure you have too. But let's keep our spirits up. Let's get out there and sell some roofs, and let's make a lot of money. So until next time, I don't always consult on commercial roofing, but when I do, I make millionaires. Stay wealthy, my friends.